Mesdames et messieurs, bonsoir. Nous sommes en direct de l'hôtel Intercontinetal à Balaclava pour l'ouverture de la 9e édition de la Indian Ocean Conference, une conférence organisée par le gouvernement mauricien en partenariat avec l'India Foundation et le ministère des Affaires étrangères de l'Inde. Un rendez-vous qui se tient à partir d'aujourd'hui et qui durera jusqu'au 12 avril, ici même à Balaclava. Sur place, les délégations étrangères sont déjà présentes, ministres, hauts responsables et dignitaires venus de plus de 25 pays, signe de l'importance accordée à ce rendez-vous régional. Le ministre des Affaires étrangères de l'Inde, le Dr Subramaniam Jaishankar, est déjà arrivé. Cette 9e édition intervient dans un contexte bien particulier, marqué par des tensions géopolitiques croissantes et une intensification de la compétition entre grandes puissances dans cette région devenue centrale. Le monde qui se tourne de plus en plus vers l'océan Indien, aujourd'hui au cœur des dynamiques globales, avec des routes maritimes essentielles au commerce international. Un espace stratégique où se croisent désormais les grandes puissances comme l'Inde, la Chine, les États-Unis, mais aussi les pays du Golfe, l'Europe et plusieurs États insulaires. Maurice accueille ainsi cette 9e édition avec la participation des représentants de plus de 25 pays, parmi lesquels le Bangladesh, le Bhoutan, la Chine, l'Égypte, le Japon, le Koweït, Madagascar, les Seychelles ou encore les Émirats arabes unis, ainsi que des organisations régionales comme l'Union africaine et l'Indian Ocean Rim Association. Placée sous le thème Collective Stewardship for Indian Ocean Governance, la conférence met l'accent sur la responsabilité collective dans la gestion de l'océan Indien, avec plusieurs axes de réflexion, notamment la liberté de navigation, les lois et la sécurité maritime. Au-delà de ces enjeux géopolitiques et sécuritaires, cette initiative s'inscrit aussi dans une vision plus large portée par l'Inde dans la région. Elle se traduit par l'initiative Mahasagar, annoncée en 2025 à Maurice par le Premier ministre indien Narendra Modi. Une approche qui met l'accent sur la sécurité mutuelle, le commerce au service du développement et la croissance économique. Autant de thématiques au cœur des discussions pendant ces 3 jours. Une dynamique à la fois bilatérale et multilatérale, avec des priorités clairement identifiées, le renforcement des capacités, la sécurité maritime, l'économie bleue, la gestion durable des ressources marines, mais aussi les défis liés au changement climatique et à la gouvernance des océans. L'événement se tient sur 3 jours avec cette séance inaugurale qui s'ouvre à 18h30, suivi de sessions plénières demain et d'un forum consacré à l'économie et au développement durable dans l'océan Indien. L'attention se porte désormais sur l'arrivée officielle du Premier ministre mauricien, le Dr Navin Chandra Ramgoolam. Et dans quelques instants, la séance débutera avec une vidéo d'introduction suivie de plusieurs interventions de haut niveau, notamment celle du président de l'India Foundation, Ram Madhav, ainsi que du ministre des Affaires étrangères d'Oman, Saïd Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud al-Boussaidi. Rappelons que le ministre des Affaires étrangères de l'Inde, le Dr Subramaniam Jaishankar, a fait le déplacement à Maurice pour assister à cet événement majeur. Il y prononcera un discours en ouverture de la conférence. Autre intervention très attendue, celle du Premier ministre mauricien, le Dr Navin Chandra Ramgoolam, qui marquera officiellement l'ouverture de cette conférence. À travers cet événement majeur, Maurice entend renforcer son rôle diplomatique dans la région et se positionner comme un véritable pont entre l'Afrique, l'Asie et les États insulaires dans un monde en constante évolution. Nous assistons à l'arrivée du Premier ministre, le Dr Navin Chandra Ramgoolam.
The Honorable Prime Minister of Mauritius will be here in the next few minutes. Request you all to be please seated.
Je vous le disais, le docteur Subramaniam Jaishankar, ministre des Affaires extérieures de la République indienne, est arrivé à Maurice hier après-midi. Une visite de 3 jours qui s'insère dans le cadre de la 9e Indian Ocean Conference.
Dr. Navin Chandra Ramgoolam. Round of applause, please.
L'entrée du Premier ministre, le docteur Navin Chandra Ramgoolam, dans la salle. Ou dans quelques instants, la cérémonie d'ouverture officielle de cette 9e édition de la Indian Ocean Conference.
Namaskar, a very good evening to all of you and a warm welcome to the inaugural session of the 9th Indian Ocean Conference themed Collective Stewardship for Indian Ocean Governance. I'm Dr. Rupa Vasudevan, Chancellor and founder of the Bharati Engineering, Science and Technology Innovation University from India, also the member of the Governing Council of the India Foundation. To begin with, may I request everyone to please rise for the national anthem of Mauritius, followed by the national anthem of India. Thank you. We request you to be kindly seated as we move ahead with the inaugural program. We now invite your attention to the screens for a short film showcasing the remarkable journey and legacy of the Indian Ocean Conference. Moving on, it's now my privilege to invite Dr. Ram Madhav, the driving force behind India Foundation and central to the genesis of the Indian Ocean Conference, to please deliver the curtain raiser address and set the tone for Indian Ocean Conference 2026.
His Excellency Prime Minister of Mauritius, Sri Naveen Ramgoolam, Honorable Ministers, officials, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar and good evening. It gives me immense pleasure to invite you to the 9th edition of the Indian Ocean Conference here in Mauritius. This conference is taking place under extraordinary circumstances. There is an ongoing conflict with an uncertain diplomatic pause in our neighborhood at this moment. The conflict is limited to just 3 countries, but its consequences are being felt by almost all countries in the world. Economy, trade, and travel have been severely impacted in our region and beyond. There are many important lessons that the current situation teaches us. 1, no conflicts are local anymore. All conflicts will have regional and global consequences. 2, we have entered the age of middle powers and multipolarity as against unipolar or bipolar superpower geopolitics. And 3, and most important, all geopolitics of the future will be regional. We, the nations assembled here, belong to the Indian Ocean region. It is the most happening region in the world today. The Indian Ocean region has emerged in this century as the global power axis. 40% of global bulk container traffic and 70% of world's energy trade passes through this region. This region is home to 3 of the top 5 economies in the world, and incidentally, 3 of the 5 largest militaries are also situated here. We long prided over peace and freedom that prevailed in our region. But sadly today, we realize that this tranquil region is turning into a volatile one. Where there is volatility, there is always room for big power intervention and politics. There is a need to be conscious of that danger. Indian Ocean Conference is a platform intended to catalyze regional cooperation for the peaceful management of this region. Through the series of annual conferences of foreign ministers of the regional countries, we intended to strengthen the idea that the present and future of the region, political, economic, environmental, and security, must primarily be managed by the countries here, with the support from the powers beyond where necessary. The big question this evening before all of us is, are we ready to shoulder that responsibility of building peaceful, free, and prosperous Indian Ocean? Friends, we are extremely grateful to His Excellency Sri Naveen Ramgoolam, Honorable Prime Minister of Mauritius, and his able colleagues for hosting this conference in such a fabulous manner. Honorable Prime Minister is one of the elderly and most respected statesmen in the region, and his leadership is important for regional peace and stability. His Excellency Dr. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India, is a household name in the strategic and diplomatic world. He has been an integral part of this vision and initiative. We are ever grateful to him for his leadership and support. His Excellency Syed Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, the Foreign Minister of Oman, who is playing a critical role at the moment in trying to secure peace in West Asia and the Middle East, has also been integral to this initiative for many years. His presence in person is missed due to understandable regional situation, However, he is joining us virtually from Oman this evening. We are thankful for his interest and involvement. His Excellency Vivian Balakrishnan, Foreign Minister of Singapore, also has been an important leader of the initiative right from its first conference in 2016 at Singapore, hosted by him. We miss him this year, but grateful for his support. Last but not the least, we wish to convey wholehearted appreciation to His Excellency Dhananjay Ramphal, Foreign Minister of Mauritius, for the graceful conduct of the conference by leading from the front. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next 2 days, ministers and other senior leaders from over 25 countries will address this conference, which is being attended by more than 200 delegates from 33 countries. I welcome each one of you to this most important calendar event of the year in our region. We are aware of the difficulties some of you faced in managing travel and other logistics. Some could not make it due to the prevailing situation in the region. We thank each one of you for joining us in this conference despite difficulties. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome to the 9th Indian Ocean Conference. I now take this opportunity to invite His Excellency Prime Minister of Mauritius, Shri Naveen Ramgoolam, and our keynote speaker, Excellency External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, to join on the dais.
Now we move on to the first video address. I would like to invite His Excellency Syed Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud Al Busaidi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Sultanate of Oman and member of the Presidium of the Indian Ocean Conference 2026, to virtually address the gathering.
Like to invite Excellency Syed Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Sultanate of Oman and member of the Presidium of the Indian Ocean Conference 2026, to virtually address the gathering.
Yeah. Hello, good evening from Oman. Thank you, dear Ram, for your opening remarks and for your kind words. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear colleagues, it is a privilege to address you today at this 9th Indian Ocean Conference. I regret that I am unable to be with you in Mauritius, but I am pleased to join you virtually to share some thoughts on this year's theme. Today's topic, collective stewardship for Indian Ocean governance, is both timely and essential, given the challenges we have been facing in and around the Indian Ocean. Last year, it was a great pleasure to host so many of you in Muscat as we set sail towards new horizons of maritime partnership. But this year, the war against Iran has prevented me from attending the conference in person. And since the deplorable initiation of this war on February the 28th, violence in the region has escalated. This had a strong impact on our seas through the disruption of transit through the Strait of Hormuz, through the targeting of port infrastructure, and through events such as the torpedo attack against an Iranian ship as it returned from a cooperative maritime event, the International Fleet Review in India. In the face of such instability, Oman believes that collective stewardship of our ocean provides the most promising route to peace and harmony. We hope that the ceasefire, which came into effect on Wednesday, will help to restore security, stability, and maritime freedom in the region. And Oman reiterates its determination to continue to work closely with its partners to uphold the law of the sea, to promote constructive cooperation, and to protect our ocean and the people on its shores. We must prevent the Indian Ocean from becoming a point of conflict, hostility, or zero-sum competition. For centuries, the Indian Ocean has connected our cultures, our economies, and communities. And today, it carries a significant portion of global trade and serves as a key channel for cooperation. And looking ahead, the Indian Ocean provides an opportunity to deliver a sustainable future and elevate the prosperity of billions. We must continue to act together as stewards of this vision. Collective stewardship requires us to reaffirm our adherence to international law, including freedom of navigation and state sovereignty, amid growing fragmentation in the global order. Crucially, we must speak up in favor of justice when such laws are violated. Dear colleagues, our approach must be guided by pragmatism, by neutrality, and mutual respect. And it must have the future of our planet at its heart. In times of heightened violence, we often disregard the environmental impact on our oceans through harmful contamination, explosives, and rising temperatures. This is yet another reminder that it is in our collective interest to denounce conflict. We must also balance the potential of the blue economy with the preservation of our nature. The responsible use of marine resources is vital. We must engage with all stakeholders, listen with openness to new ideas, and hence map the most strategic path to sustainable development. Distinguished delegates, dear friends, the Indian Ocean has connected us for millennia, and it will continue to do so for many years to come. The Sultanate of Oman is grateful that even during times of severe uncertainty, our partnership and our collective stewardship of the Indian Ocean prevails. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your valuable address. We now move to the keynote segment of the evening. It's my honor to invite Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of the Government of India, who has been a steadfast pillar of support for every Indian Ocean conference, to deliver the keynote address.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to share my thoughts at the 9th Indian Ocean Conference on collective stewardship for the Indian Ocean. Let me express my appreciation to the Government of the Republic of Mauritius, specifically to Prime Minister Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, to Foreign Minister Mr. Dhananjay Ramphal, to the organizers of India Foundation, and to Ram Madhavji, who has been the force behind this conference all these years. We gather every year, at least we have for the last 9, to deliberate on the Indian Ocean, its achievements, prospects, and challenges. And we do so again at a time when the turbulence in the world and in the Indian Ocean itself is at a high. This gives our conversations a particular value, and I'm confident that you all share that belief. In this background, let me make 5 points that I hope you will reflect on during the conference deliberations. The first is an obvious one. I am stating the obvious, but nevertheless necessary today. And it is about the importance of the ocean. This is not just a framework in which we all exist, but an ecosystem. It is the resources on which we depend, the connectivity on which we thrive, and indeed the culture that we have built up over the ages. It is so fundamental that when this is disrupted, numerous aspects of life are impacted. We are seeing it today. The Indian Ocean must plan for stormy days while hoping for more sunny ones. 2, in the last decades, our focus was on overcoming the artificial barriers of the colonial era. This meant deeper regional cooperation, stronger economic linkages, rebuilding of connectivity, and revival of traditions. Last year, we deliberated at some length on these very facets. The spirit of the monsoons must inspire us to continue to work together. We must continue to advance this and not be distracted from our long-term goals. The world may be more fragmented, but we, the nations of the Indian Ocean, must seek to be more cohesive. My third point, global trends are a reality that cannot be ignored. The world is more competitive, fractured, and inward-looking than in the past. The benefits of globalization are today overshadowed by the temptation to leverage and the temptation to weaponize. As a result, we are all in a quest for greater resilience and are seeking more trusted partners. 4. Choke points. Choke points are now a great global anxiety. We naturally tend to think of it physically, as is the case in regions close by. But let's not forget that it has also been conceptually developed in domains like finance, technology, resources, and even knowledge. Overcoming the controlled mindset is essential for the well-being of the international economy. And 5, not least, there is a call for deeper cooperation among the nations of the Indian Ocean. In many ways, it is a global South Ocean. Whether it is food, fuel, or fertilizer shortages, whether it is responding to natural disasters, whether it is addressing the consequences of conflicts, the answer is increasingly in collective resilience. We in India have articulated it through our Mahasagar outlook and our neighborhood first policy. With those 5 points placed before you, let me stress today that we meet in a world marked by uncertainty and rapid change. The global order is undergoing a period of profound transition, shaped by shifting power balances, ongoing conflicts, economic fragmentation, and growing contestation. Nations increasingly prioritize security and resilience. And here is the paradox that the world confronts. The interdependence is getting deeper, but the competition is getting stronger. Navigating it is therefore getting tougher. In these turbulent times, the situation in West Asia obviously merits particular attention. All of us are deeply concerned about the conflict and would like to see an early return to normalcy. We firmly oppose the targeting of civilians, of infrastructure, and of commercial shipping. It is essential that navigation remains safe and unimpeded. The relevant point here is that each one of us has felt the economic impact of this conflict very deeply. When energy is scarce and expensive, it has an overarching implication for the entire society. When trade is constricted, this goes beyond business to livelihoods in different sectors. When fertilizers are more difficult to procure, its food security consequence is obvious. These have become the immediate challenges as we meet here in this conference. But there are underlying issues that we also need to address because there is no guarantee that such scenarios will not recur. So let me turn back to the Indian Ocean that we collectively inhabit. The vulnerability of the ocean only further highlights its centrality. We have to recognize that the pressures on the Indian Ocean are only growing. The takeaway here is the urgency with which we seek solutions, the importance in convincing the international community of that pressing requirement. It can no more be business as usual. Friends, we have over multiple conferences been discussing non-traditional challenges in our maritime space. But here is the truth that we cannot avoid. There is a full-blown conflict that is today deeply impacting all nations of the Indian Ocean. Moreover, there are gray zone activities that span the spectrum between the traditional and the non-traditional. We all saw and we all felt the consequences when shipping in the Red Sea was disrupted in the last few years. So the bottom line is that the spectrum of challenges has become wider and more seamless, and unfortunately also more serious. Our stewardship cannot ignore this. No single Indian Ocean state, however capable, can preserve and protect the maritime space alone. The complex challenges demand a shared commitment, one that is rooted in cooperation, in transparency, and above all, in respect for international law. We must view the Indian Ocean as a global commons where not only the benefits are shared, but so too are the responsibilities. Our efforts must be pursued through strong institutional networks. The Information Fusion Center, Indian Ocean Region, IFC-IOR, enables real-time maritime information sharing, enhancing domain awareness and operational coordination among partner countries. Regional platforms such as the Indian Ocean Rim Association, IORA, the Indian Ocean Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, IPOI, BIMSTEC, Colombo Security Conclave, and the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium all provide structured avenues for dialogue, for cooperation, and for capacity building. Friends, India has consistently acted as a first responder in the Indian Ocean region. Whether in humanitarian crisis or natural disasters, we have stepped forward with speed and with reliability. Be it disaster relief operations in Sri Lanka, Madagascar, Mozambique, or responding to oil spills of the coast of Mauritius or Sri Lanka. We have been there for the region. A recent example would be the Operation Sagar Bandhu in Sri Lanka after the devastating cyclone Ditwa last year. We not only undertook prompt and extensive HADR operations, but also committed a package worth US $450 million for relief and reconstruction. Equally important is our development partnership approach. India's engagement is guided by the priorities of our partners, focused on sustainable outcomes. And let me cite some examples. Here in Mauritius, in addition to iconic projects like the Metro Express, we are currently working on water supply, a police academy, a forensic laboratory, and on archives. Just earlier in the day, I had the honor of joining Prime Minister Ramgoolam to dedicate a renal transplant unit and also hand over 19 e-buses. The recent special economic package, which we have finalized, contemplates 8 significant initiatives in health, transport, and infrastructure. In Seychelles, while partnering over the years in different domains, we have again just extended a special economic package on whose delivery Foreign Minister Barry Faure and I are working. In Sri Lanka, our projects extend across housing, health, education, cultural centers, connectivity infrastructure, and livelihood enhancement. In the Maldives, major ongoing projects include the flagship Greater Malay Connectivity Project, several road and water sanitation projects, as well as airport development. In Madagascar, India's assistance in agriculture and energy is today underlined by the supply of rice in very sizable quantities. Where partners like Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan in South Asia are concerned, or indeed Tanzania and Mozambique in Africa, our development partnerships are a subject in themselves. They encompass so many dimensions of the economy and society. And these projects have not just been transformational in themselves, but actually have brought our countries and our region much closer. Apart from this, capacity building and capability enhancement of our partners in the region is equally vital. Many countries in the region face difficulties in monitoring their vast EEZs. To help our partners, we have not only invested in dedicated training programs, but are also supporting the equipment of their navies and Coast Guard. I also note that in Sri Lanka, we have recently set up and operationalized the Maritime Rescue and Coordination Center. When we speak about collective stewardship, obviously defense partnerships also come to mind. And ours in this region are rooted in cooperation, not in confrontation. Through joint exercise, be it Akime, Dosti, or Milan, we build interoperability and trust to combat threats collectively for a safer and more prosperous Indian Ocean region. Friends, all these efforts become meaningless without connectivity. Indeed, it is connectivity that is the thread which ties us all together. Be it the IMEC, the INSTC, or the IMTT, the India-Myanmar, Thailand Trilateral Highway, India is at the center of these initiatives. Our approach to connectivity is clear. It must be transparent, it must be consultative, it must respect sovereignty, and it must be a genuine partnership. Allow me also to share a thought about the Indian Ocean Rim Association that is headquartered here in Mauritius. As the current chair, India is committed to deepening sustainable development, capacity building, and regional integration. Among the platforms relevant to the Indian Ocean is also the Quad. India's partners in the Quad, Australia, Japan, and the United States, are all maritime nations. Our first collaboration actually started in the Indian Ocean in 2004. So let me just flag to your attention some of the Quad initiatives of relevance, some of the recent initiatives of relevance. And they include the Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, the Indo-Pacific Logistics Network, and the Partnership for Cable Connectivity and Resilience. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in this volatile era, the idea of collective stewardship calls for moving beyond narrow calculations and embracing the broader vision of shared responsibility. The Indian Ocean, with all its promise and challenges, offers us an opportunity to demonstrate what such cooperation can actually achieve. By working together, we can ensure a free, stable, and prosperous Indian Ocean region. India remains fully committed to that endeavor. I thank you for your attention. Yes, I had also made a commitment to Ram Madhavji, which he just reminded me. As you saw from the video, from the presentation, the Indian Ocean Conference has traveled these 9 years to 9 different countries. Next year, I very much hope that it would come to India. And I invite you all a full year in advance to that meeting, so you will have no excuse for not turning up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. S. Jaishankar, for your insightful keynote address. And now, it's my distinct privilege to invite our chief guest for the evening, Honorable Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, Prime Minister of Mauritius, to deliver the chief guest address, please.
Your Excellencies, heads of delegation, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, I extend a warm welcome to all of you to this 9th Indian Ocean Conference. This conference, as you know, is being organized by the India Foundation in partnership with the government of Mauritius, and it gives me great pleasure to be hosting this important event this evening. Thank you to the Indian Foundation and to its president, Dr. Ram Madhav, for their support in organizing this conference. The theme of the 9th Indian Ocean Conference could not be more topical, no more relevant. Collective stewardship for Indian Ocean governance. Over the next 2 days, regional leaders, officials, and distinguished experts will be discussing matters of vital importance for all our countries, and indeed for the whole world. Maritime security, economic development, and sustainability are critical challenges facing all societies today. We are currently navigating a world in turmoil, a confluence of geopolitical upheavals, threats to peace and stability, rapid technological transformation, climate change, and erosion of biodiversity has presented humanity with grave challenges. Challenges that no previous generation has been called upon to confront. The question is, how do we rise to meet them? Your presence in Mauritius today, despite the prevailing circumstances, is not mere symbolism. It is a concrete demonstration of how, despite all of these uncertainties, we can still put dialogue before confrontation, collaboration before conflict. Whilst we welcome the 2-week ceasefire that has been reached a couple of days ago, it is still a fragile ceasefire. We must not allow ourselves to be lulled into complacency. We should all work together for a peaceful and permanent resolution of the crisis. We strongly believe that this will be achieved only through dialogue and diplomatic efforts. We are all aware, as so many international experts and observers are saying, that the impact of the war would be long-lasting, with devastating effects on our economies. Even now, we're feeling the impact of the war. Ladies and gentlemen, I acknowledge in our midst the presence of Dr. Jay Shankar, the distinguished Minister of External Affairs from the Republic of India. The Sultanate of Oman, who hosted the 8th Indian Ocean Conference under the theme Voyage to New Horizons of Maritime Partnerships, has not been able to be here because of the war, but we heard him and we welcome the inspiring address that we just heard from His Excellency Syed Badr Al Busaid, Foreign Minister of Oman. And I salute the presence of leaders and high officials from around the African continent, a continent whose mighty strength is increasingly felt throughout the world. If we join together, united in common endeavor, to promote the goals of peaceful coexistence, dialogue, and cooperation in these maritime and other spheres, we will be a powerful force for the good of the world, in a troubled world. This would not have been possible without India's presidency of the G20 from 2022 to 2023, and the commitment of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to advance the cause of the African continent. It was during his presidency, India's presidency, that the African Union was admitted as a permanent member of the G20, and we thank Prime Minister Narendra Modi for this initiative. One of the most influential naval strategists in history, the American Alfred Mahan, emphasized the strategic importance of the Indian Ocean, predicting its central role in the future geopolitics of the world. And it was really prophetic in what he wrote. Let me quote. "Whoever controls the Indian Ocean dominates Asia. This ocean is the key to the 7 seas. In the 21st century, the destiny of the world will be decided on its waters." Unquote. But you know, the extraordinary thing is that these words were written, believe it or not, in the 19th century. It was prophetic. More recently, in 2010, Robert Kaplan, well known for his work on politics and foreign affairs, identified the Indian Ocean and its surrounding region as the new pivot of world politics. The region connects energy producers, manufacturing centers, and major markets across continents. Its sea lanes carry a substantial share of the global trade. Its choke points of critical importance to the functioning of the global economy. But it is now much more than that. It is becoming a strategic system by itself. In an era of renewed great power rivalry, such geography inevitably attracts strategic attention. For the states of the region, this critical juncture presents both opportunity and risk. We cannot allow the future shape of our maritime region to be determined by others alone. And unless we combine the way to which I have alluded, the risk is that our individual voices will be drowned out in the strident roar of the biggest beasts. The central challenge lies in ensuring that the Indian Ocean remains an area of cooperation and rather than of confrontation. But this requires a shift in approach and perspective. We must move away from a more geographical relevance to strategic relevance, from individual positioning to regional awareness, and from passive adaptation to a policy of shaping the future of the region in which we all dwell. Ladies and gentlemen, conflicts propagate through interconnected systems, affecting many non-belligerents. The situation in the Middle East is illustrative of what I'm saying. How many countries in the Gulf area are today concerned spectators and collateral victims of the war in the region? Modern conflict is no longer conducted solely through military means. It is also shaped by narratives, by the framing of events, the justification of actions, and the management of perception. In such an environment, uncertainty itself can become an instrument of strategy. Conflicting claims, shifting justifications, and inconsistent messages create a fog in which decisions are taken. The risk is not only misjudgment, but also miscalculation. We have been told that we cannot plan the future based on yesterday's assumptions. But we have reached such a stage that I doubt it if we can chart a future of a course of action based on today's assumptions. History reminds us that conflicts can expand not only through deliberate design, but through misinterpretation of intent and overreaction to perceived threat. The contemporary environment bears element of that pattern. For small states in particular, our task lies in navigating this landscape with discernment, resisting the pull of competing narratives, while remaining anchored in principles and clarity. Within this broader context, Mauritius occupies a position that carries both opportunity and responsibility. Situated at the crossroads of maritime routes and maintaining constructive relations across regions, Mauritius is well placed to play an important role in dialogue and cooperation within the Indian Ocean. This role doesn't require the muscular assertion of exorbitant rights. It requires facilitation, encouraging consultation among states facing similar vulnerabilities, promoting adherence to international norms and the rule of law, supporting initiatives that reinforce stability and cooperation. We shall not cease to be the quiet voice of reason, the still small voice that constantly reminds the world that another better path is open to us, to which we shall ineluctably be driven once the turbulent fever of this time abates, and the goals of international peace and progress are once again restored to their rightful place as the best lights of humanity. In a region of growing strategic importance, even modest contributions to collective understanding can have a meaningful impact. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing today harsh realities and structural changes to economic, trade, and geopolitical architecture. But these are the realities of our day. We can no more avoid them. We can no more avoid them than our forebears could avoid theirs. And we must at the same time prepare for the future. The future of the Indian Ocean would seem more uncertain today than it did a decade ago. And I've said the times demand sustained and coordinated engagement among the states of the Indian Ocean, between the states of the Indian Ocean and their partners, be they state or institutional within and beyond the borders of our region. That coordination must include the small island developing states and tackle the things of relevance to us: climate change, maritime domain awareness, economic integration, capacity building, and sustainable development. The states of the Indian Ocean and their partners have already taken measures to coordinate the action. The Commission de l'Océan Indien, COI, saw the light of day following the Port Louis Declaration in 1982. Its focus is regional solidarity in the Western Indian Ocean by cooperating on projects such as ecosystem preservation, sustainable management of natural resources, maritime security, and sectors relating to sustainable development. Alongside the Commission de l'Océan Indien, Mauritius has also hosted the Indian Ocean Rim Association since its establishment in 1997. The IORA completes and complements the regional dimension of the COI by bringing together both the island states and the littoral states of the Indian Ocean. Through the IORA, the member states embrace the whole of the Indian Ocean. Having the powers of the world as dialogue partners gives the association an additional layer of influence. Our dialogue partners are another aspect of our collective stewardship for the Indian governance, the Indian Ocean governance. While stewardship and governance of the Indian Ocean are the responsibility of the Indian Ocean states, there is an awareness far beyond the region, as those far-sighted thinkers have mentioned, foreshadowed that the Indian Ocean will be crucial to the future of the world. The ocean is vast. Monitoring and securing that maritime domain poses a challenge, as rightly pointed out by His Excellency, the Minister for External Affairs of India. Yet we must do so if we are to ensure that the Indian Ocean allows free passage, which is essential for global trading. The position and its importance demands, as well as contributes to the health of the world's oceans. This is for the good of the states of both the Indian Ocean and beyond that ocean. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply grateful that India contributes so significantly to our regional cooperation frameworks. Through the Information Fusion Center in Gurugram, India participates with partner nations, among which is Mauritius, in the enhancing of maritime safety and security in the Indian Ocean and the adjoining seas. India is also the current chair of the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, which works towards enhancing maritime cooperation among the littoral states of the Indian Ocean, including Mauritius. And it is the anchor of the Colombo Security Conclave, which also includes Mauritius. This is an important platform working towards security cooperation among Indian Ocean states. These maritime assets are complemented by aerial elements, aircraft and helicopters to cover a range of operations. Ladies and gentlemen, during his state visit to Mauritius in March of last year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled to the world India's expanded maritime vision, Mahasagar, mutual area of holistic advancement for security of growth across regions. Mahasagar builds on the previous Sagar vision, announced in Mauritius again in 2015. Mahasagar is an overreaching framework that goes beyond the regional and solely maritime security perspective, to include the realm of economy, technology, and environmental sustainability, all of which concerns are of immediate relevance, both to the Indian Ocean states and the littoral states. Mahasagar is born from the philosophy of the oneness of all oceans, to form in effect one great ocean, and Mauritius strongly supports this vision. But alongside the philosophy, there is a hard-edged reality and urgency of our immediate needs. So I'll ask again, what is the way forward? The way forward is for us to collectively and in solidarity to advance peace, stability, and maritime stability, security in the Indian Ocean, guided by the three themes of freedom of navigation, maritime laws and governance, and maritime security. This Indian Ocean Conference offers the ideal platform to make progress within those matters. Freedom of navigation is the cornerstone of international law. Maritime laws and governance are about the regulation of activities of the oceans, including shipping, navigation, and commerce. Maritime security involves primarily the protection of ships, also ports and critical sea lanes from piracy, tourism, terrorism, and environmental disaster, and has become an essential part of foreign policy. Each is a strand that weaves into our immediate and current reality. Altogether, they form the geopolitical tapestry in which we are embedded. Ladies and gentlemen, we already contribute actively to regional cooperation frameworks and the bilateral engagement towards the governance of the Indian Ocean. We can do more, and we should do more, collectively, for the interests of the Indian Ocean that unites all of us. These reflections converge towards a common conclusion. The future stability of the Indian Ocean, and indeed of the wider international environment, cannot be left solely to the interest and ephemeral priorities of power blocks and superpowers. It will also depend on whether the states that inhabit those shores recognize their shared interests and act with the confidence that comes from cooperation and strategic clarity. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, unity and solidarity are not vain words. They are the imperatives in times of crisis. And in a changing world, the ability to think and act together will well prove to be the most enduring safeguard of all. Alone, we can do so little, but together, we can do so much. Let us not allow the tidal currents of world-shaking events now upsetting long-held complacencies and assumptions going to waste. At the risk of a maritime metaphor to its limit, as so often, Shakespeare captures the risk and opportunities to which I've spoken. What did he say? There is a tide in the affairs of man which taken at the flood leads unto fortune. Omitted all the voyage of the life is bound in shallows and in miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves or lose our ventures, unquote. With these words, I wish you all a productive and fruitful deliberations during the sessions of this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister, for your inspiring address. We now move to felicitation. May I request Dr. Ram Madhav, President of India Foundation, to felicitate His Excellency Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, Prime Minister of Mauritius. Now I request Dr. Ram Madhav to felicitate Dr. S. Jaishankar, the Honorable External Affairs Minister, Government of India. Thank you. Now, moving on with the tradition, it's time for the Indian Ocean Conference family photograph. May I kindly request all the excellencies to take their designated positions as per the assigned serial numbers, please.
Mesdames et messieurs, nous sommes arrivés à la fin de cette cérémonie d'ouverture de la 9e Indian Ocean Conference. Merci de nous avoir suivis. Restez branchés sur la MBC, la première chaîne, pour votre journal télévisé dans quelques instants. Au nom de toute l'équipe présente ici à Balaclava, je vous remercie pour votre attention. Très bonne soirée à toutes et à tous.